Hi, my name is Todd Seib, and I'm an environmental health specialist at the Missoula City County Health Department.
And I'm Alicia Johnson. I'm also an environmental health specialist with Missoula City County Health.
So Alicia and I are here today to kind of introduce our presentation about radon. And the presentation's divided into two parts. The first part, I'm going to talk a lot about the basics of radon, what it is, where it can be found, and some of the techniques that can be used to decrease your exposure.
And my portion of the presentation is going to talk about Missoula County's overall risk for radon and the recent levels that we've seen in our updated 2012 study.
And I think the take-home message here is that it is a problem in Missoula, but you can fix it. And so we want people to test,
fix,
save a life.
It's good public health.
Hi there, my name is Todd Seib, and I'm an environmental health specialist with the Missoula City County Health Department. And today we're going to be talking about radon. I'm going to give the first part of the talk, and we're going to talk about kind of an introduction of what radon is. And Alicia Johnson is going to give the second half of the talk, and she's really going to focus a lot more on Missoula County specific effects and levels of radon. So the title of today's talk, Breathing Easy, Radon is a health risk that can be controlled. And radon is a health risk. The Surgeon General estimates that over 20,000 people each year die from radon-induced lung cancer. And that actually makes radon the second leading cause of lung cancer in the United States. Unfortunately, Montana is a place that has high levels of radon, and Missoula County as well. The good news, of course, is that radon levels can be controlled. Both in the process of building a house, you can build the house so that radon doesn't enter the house, and after a house is built, it can be mitigated as well. So let's start with talking more about what radon is. So radon is a gas, but it originates in the soil as uranium. Uranium decays to radium, and radium decays to radon-222. That's the gas that permeates through the soil and can enter homes. As radon continues to decay, it releases a number of radioactive particles and waves, alpha, beta, and gamma particles and rays. The most damaging here are the alpha particles. So when we say that radon is a radioactive gas, what does that really mean? Radiation is really just energy, and the intensity of this energy determines whether or not the radiation is non-ionizing or ionizing. Most of us are familiar with non-ionizing radiation. So these would be things like microwaves, radio waves, and the like. And non-ionizing radiation does not pose a health risk for the most part. Conversely, ionizing radiation, this is the health risk. And ionizing radiation is much higher intensity, higher energy, and these would be things like X-rays and gamma rays, and in the case of radon, alpha and beta particles and gamma rays. This radiation is measured in picocuries per liter, and the U.S. EPA recommends that you mitigate your house for radon if indoor levels are above 4 picocuries per liter. Okay. So we know radon's a gas. Whenever you build a home or put a structure over the soil, that gas is basically given a welcome mat to come into the house. And this really happens for two primary reasons. Number one, our houses aren't well sealed. We have cracks in our foundations, exposed soil in our crawl spaces, and a number of other entry points where radon can enter. The second reason would be that the air pressure inside the home is usually much less than the air pressure in the soil. So the house is acting essentially as a vacuum and can draw radon into it. And because of these two variables, how the house is built and the radon in the soil, two houses that are right next to each other can actually have vastly different indoor radon levels. So the take-home message is you always want to test your home. Your neighbor's house is not predictive of the radon levels in your house. Being that the nature of radon is that it's a gas in the soil that seeps into a structure, you can imagine this has been happening for as long as we've been building structures over the soil, and in fact it's thought that over 55% of radiation exposure to humans is from radon. So it is the leading cause of radiation exposure. When the radon gets into the house and it accumulates there into high enough concentrations, we breathe it in, and this is where it can cause damage and have health effects. We're going to talk about that next. So radon is, you're exposed to radon by inhaling it, and this is an important route of exposure because the alpha particles that cause the most damage, they're actually not very damaging at all on the external surface of the human body. It's when they get inside the lungs that they cause the most damage. And they can cause damage in a number of ways. When that radiation interacts with a cell, a lung cell, it can kill the cell, which is actually not necessarily a bad thing. It can damage the cell, and the cell can repair itself, and that's also a good consequence. But it can also damage a cell, and the cell could maybe not repair itself. And if there aren't other compensatory mechanisms in the body for this, you can have long-term effects. You can have DNA damage or bond breakage and things that could lead to cancer. And in fact, in the graph on the right, on the x-axis, are varying environmental causes of death, and on the y-axis are the number of deaths per year. And so you can see radon there in the red bar. It's thought to attribute to 21,000, give or take, deaths per year by causing lung cancer. It's important to note that children do have faster respiratory rates than adults, and so their radon exposure is a little more risky, as well as if you smoke, it can lead to higher risks of developing lung cancer. So we know radon comes from the ground, and what this image shows is a map of the United States, and it's color-coded, and the red color denotes any area that on average has higher than 4 picocuries per liter indoor radon. So you can see Montana is red, and to give you an idea, nationally the average is 1.3 picocuries per liter, and in Missoula County specifically, our average is 7.1 picocuries per liter. So we do have high levels here in the state and in the county. So I mentioned 4 picocuries per liter, but it's really important to know what that number means. There really is not a safe level of radon exposure. 4 picocuries per liter is EPA's action level. That level is not necessarily a safe level. When EPA regulates carcinogens, particularly in water samples, they usually are setting that exposure limit to what would put someone at risk for cancer over a lifetime of exposure, a cancer risk of about 1 in a million. At 4 picocuries per liter, the cancer risk with radon is about 1 in 100. So if you have 4 picocuries per liter or you have 3.8, you're not at a safe level by any means. To give you another example of what that's equivalent to, 4 picocuries per liter is equivalent to about 200 chest X-rays per year. Okay, that was kind of the sobering news, but the good news is that we can fix radon problems in our homes. So first thing you have to do is test, though. Tests are inexpensive. Most tests that you buy at hardware stores are going to cost around $30. At the health department right now, we have test kits available for $6. Today's February 10th. That's a deal that's going to last throughout the month. And what's nice about these tests is they're convenient. You can retrieve your results online, and they're relatively quick tests, 3 to 7 days. If you do have high levels of radon, there are a number of qualified contractors in the state as well as in the county that can mitigate your radon levels. And the techniques that are being used now are very effective and can reduce indoor levels by 99% or more. Cost of repair, this is very affordable when you consider other home repairs. It's equivalent to having your house painted or installing a new hot water heater, something along those lines. Radon-resistant new construction as a method to prevent radon from entering your house can sometimes even be cheaper than mitigation after the fact. So it's a good thing for builders or someone that's having their house built to consider. So as far as the introduction to radon, we've covered a number of things here. We know that radon is a radioactive gas, and it can enter a home, and a number of different homes are susceptible to radon exposure. It can cause lung cancer and is the second leading cause of lung cancer after smoking. We know there are high levels in Montana as well as Missoula County. Again, the only way to know if there's a radon problem is to test. And we can build radon out, and we can mitigate it after we test. So that was kind of the basics into radon, and now we're going to talk a little bit more about specific radon levels that we've recorded and measured it here in Missoula County.
Okay, my name is Alicia, and I'm also an environmental health specialist with Missoula City County Health. As Todd was talking about, Missoula is a high radon area, and Missoula City County Health has been working toward increasing awareness in Missoula County toward this problem so that people can be knowledgeable about their radon risk as well as take care of problems if they indeed have a high radon exposure in their homes. Since the Indoor Radon Abatement Act in the late 80s, Missoula County Health has been trying to increase radon awareness. As a part of this awareness effort, we have been asking people to test their homes, and we've been compiling the data from those tests since the early 90s. The first radon study was released in 1993. This study was put together by Missoula City County Health's Doug Kickert. That particular study concluded that Missoula was indeed a high radon area as suspected by other information. And since 1993, we've continued that study by gathering radon data, compiling it, increasing awareness to get people to test. We've used state grant funds to actually increase awareness using direct mailings, advertisements in the paper to get people to test, let them know that test kits are available at the health department. And we've also used those state grant funds to give away test kits. To date, we have almost 3,000 results, and those 3,000 results are what we're going to discuss in the second half of the presentation. The updated 2012 Radon Study shows us quite a bit of conclusions, actually. If you take a look at this particular graph, you can see, first of all, that we've broken it down by zip code. We've done this for a number of different reasons. One, the test company that we're using to date is AirCheck, and they break down the different data points that we receive by zip code. The other reason why we use that is that it makes it easier for us to represent this geographically, as well as use this to do direct mailings to areas where we're seeing we're not getting a lot of testing being done, or areas that show a particularly high radon risk. In this particular graph, a few things I want to call your attention to. First of all, take a look at the lines drawn horizontally across the screen. The yellow line represents the national average of 1.3 picocuries per liter. The bluish-purple line in the middle represents EPA's action level that Todd has already covered of 4 picocuries per liter. And then the top line shown in red is Missoula County's overall average of 7.1 picocuries per liter. Definitely significantly high compared to the action level as well as the national average. The other things to note is that every single zip code as well as the overall average is above both the national average as well as EPA's action level, and that there really is no low or safe area in Missoula County as far as radon's concerned. The other thing is note the error bars coming off each zip code's average. As you can see, there's quite a bit of variability in the data. We had a significant range in this particular updated study, anywhere from 0 picocuries per liter to above 470 picocuries per liter, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But what this variability suggests is that there's no way to actually divide Missoula County up into areas and characterize them as either low or high areas for radon exposure. As Todd mentioned earlier, really, there's no safe level for radon, and the only way to know your radon level is to test. A few reasons for the variability, which again Todd mentioned earlier, is the fact that there are many variables for radon exposure. The type of home construction that you have, the geology or the soils below your home, really all of those things contribute, as well as the level of the home that you test. It's really important to test the lowest living level of your home to get a good idea of your radon exposure. All of those things can contribute to the variability. So just because your neighbor may have a low or high level of radon doesn't mean that that is indicative of your own. level of radon in your home. So really, again, the idea is to test. To further break down the risk to Missoula County, we looked at the percentages of homes in Missoula County above the EPA's action level of 4 picocuries per liter. As you can tell from the red area, the yellow area, and the light blue area, well over 50% of the homes do have levels above the EPA action level of 4.0 picocuries per liter. Something that is very concerning is the fact that over 5% of the homes actually tested above 20 picocuries per liter. To compare the information that we got in 1993 with the original Radon study, as well as the results that we've gotten here in 2012, we put together this chart to kind of emphasize the results that we've received. So in 1993, we had 455 test results. To date, we have 2,833. This shows that we are increasing awareness, getting more people to test their homes for radon, which is great, and we'd like to keep this effort going, getting more people to test. The range I mentioned a little while ago was quite sporadic. We did get a lot of variability in our data. The range in 1993 was quite small, although concerning nonetheless, from 0 to 63.5 picocuries per liter. We did get a test result in the 2012 study of 475.1 picocuries per liter, which is very alarming. It's more than 100 times the EPA's action level and more than 365 times the national average. So that's really kind of crazy. We need to get more people to test, and it is easy to fix. Something to note is that the percentages as far as the homes above the EPA action level, as well as in the increments of 4 to 10 picocuries per liter, 10 to 20 picocuries per liter, and over 10 picocuries per liter, all of those showed an increase in this most updated study. The only difference when we broke down the zip codes was that 59803 did go down a little bit from the 1993 7.1 picocuries per liter. However, it's still above the EPA action level of 4.0. Something that we did a little differently than the 1993 study is we actually looked at other areas of Missoula County rather than just the areas on the valley floor, which were represented by the 59801, 802, and 803 zip codes. This is a map that we have compiled with all of the information to date. As you can see, each data point is represented by a color. The color represents the level of radon. The green is 0 to 4 picocuries per liter, or those homes that are below the EPA action level. The yellow is 4.1 to 8 picocuries per liter, and then it goes up from there. Something that you should note is that while the immediate area in Missoula Valley shows still quite a bit of green, that's not something that's necessarily indicative of a lower radon level on the valley floor. Keep in mind that there are a lot of data points right in Missoula City proper, and so there are a lot of data points that are layered. Overall, though, the county is more than 4.0 picocuries per liter. Something else to note is that we don't have as many data points as we would like for the outlying areas, and that is something we would like to increase this year, next year, and of course in future radon awareness efforts. We would like to get more people to test in those outlying areas, especially because we are seeing sections like the area just north of the Y, so it's the I-90 and Highway 93 interchange, just north of Missoula. We do have very few data points there, but the ones that we have gotten show particularly high levels, and that is quite concerning. We don't have very many points for the Sealy-Condon area, and that's also concerning. So again, we would like to increase awareness efforts and call attention to the fact that there is no safe area in Missoula County, and the only way to know is to test. So the maximum point seen, as we talked about, was 475.1 picocuries per liter. In future awareness efforts, we would like to target those outlying areas in the 59821 zip code, as we talked about, north of the Y interchange, the 59826 area, 59868, and 59834. So we're talking Sealy-Condon and other outlying areas. And really the only way to know is to test. If you are interested in getting a test kit and knowing your radon levels, you can get them at any local hardware store, as well as the Missoula City County Health Department, located at 301 West Alder on the second floor. Test kits are available for only $6 through the end of the month, so February 29th, and we encourage you to stop on by and see us. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call or visit the following websites or call the following numbers. In addition, if you would like to look at the information we have presented today in greater depth, you can take a look at our paper loaded on our website at www.co.missoula.mt.us/envhealth.